Welcome to PokeClass episode 27. This week is the final episode before we get to the weekend of Nationals, and I, as many others, have been testing frantically for the past couple of months or so to get every matchup as polished and teched for as possible to make sure we are fully prepared for the tournament. So what have we all learned from this testing experience? Well, hopefully I'll be able to give a few answers and enlighten people in what to expect if they haven't been able to do much testing. This episode will be a brief roundup of what we are expecting to see at Nationals this year. If you want a more in-depth look at how to play each matchup, as well as how to prepare for the day, please check out the link in the description below to my 6 prizes article. It contains all you need to know about Nationals in one article, so please go and check it out. Sorry to those who have read it already, as this episode may seem a bit repetitive. So back to the episode, and first off, let's have a look at the top 2 contenders. LuxChomp is obviously the top contender this year, so definitely expect to come up against this one. With the ability to take cheap prizes very quickly, this deck is bound to be seen around the top tables. Not only this, but the sheer amount of players taking this deck means that you're bound to play this deck at least once or twice during the Swiss rounds. LuxChomp will rise in numbers from state championships. I know this sounds strange, considering that it's already a highly played deck, but I'll explain why. It's simply because of the situation in the US. Since they are more than definitely expecting a Heart Gold, Soul Silver onwards Nationals, the usual expensive parts of the deck, such as Uxie Level X and Luxray Level X, have dropped dramatically in price. I've seen people buying Luxrays now for around $17, which works out to around £10, a definite improvement from recent times. This dramatic drop in price now opens up the deck to players who haven't had the luck or the money available to run it competitively. What this means for the tournament is that the new players to the deck will be running it in tournaments while they still can. While this is great for the newer players to get some playtime with the most successful deck of the year, people that have been playing the deck all season will have the upper hand. Simply because they've been playing it for the whole year, they will have practiced each matchup well, including the mirror match. LuxChomp takes experience to play well and take far, but don't let this put you off playing the deck if you are new to it. Fitting in enough testing in the week before can give you a fair idea of the deck, but expect experienced players of the deck to give you a tough time if you end up facing them. Vilegar is up next and will come in close second to LuxChomp in terms of numbers. This deck is fairly cheap to build, but still has the ability to take tournaments as it has pretty good matchups across the board. An intense trainer lock from turn 1, paired with the ability to take full advantage with this with Gengar Stormfront's Poltergeist attack, means that it will hit for high damage while the opponent has few ways of breaking free. Experienced players with the deck will have the strategy and counters down to a T, and you should expect to see a fair few of these on the top tables, whether it's straight Vilegar or a build with the inclusion of Gengar Prime. Even newer players of the game could take this deck to a fair record on the day with its good matchups against most, but the ones who take it far will have tested extensively to make sure they have it playing perfectly to their style. These are the 2 definite decks to test for, as they'll be more than likely in high numbers when it comes to the actual day. But what else can you expect to see there? Let's have a look. Gyarados saw a rise in play at City Championships, but dipped slightly when the hype of LuxGar came around. But the play of this deck never really went back up when LuxGar didn't live up to expectations. Gyarados is still a solid contender when it comes to major tournaments, with it taking the second highest amount of top cut places in the state championships of Europe. Featuring fast setup and high amounts of recovery, Gyarados can take any deck by surprise if it gets the quick start. Being able to tail revenge for a possible 110 damage per turn with Expert Belt attached is nothing to shy away from, as it one-hit KOs most SP level X's and a majority of other Pokemon if you put Crobat G into the equation. Most variants of the deck also run Mesprit and even Cyrus's Initiative to disrupt and lock while taking constant prizes with Gyarados, so you'll need to play smart to stay in the game. Make sure you test for this one, as the chances of facing it are fairly high if you haven't got a LuxChomp or a Gengar variant sitting opposite. Machamp could cause some trouble at Nationals this year, with recent success of a variant including Vileplume and Spiritomb in the States. Having a highly trainer lock based strategy means that the opponent can slowly set up a Machamp Stormfront while you are left there with only half your available cards to set up. This can lead to some tough times when them using takeout on all your basics before you have a chance to evolve. Trainer lock can be hard to get out of quickly and efficiently, which is why this deck can cause trouble. As well as the new trainer lock version, there is also Speed Champ to look out for. This deck will take off on the first turn of being allowed to lose trainers, and making use of Unknown R, Pokedraw Plus and Uxie LA to get Machamp taking out as soon as possible. This obviously causes trouble for SP, but the second most anticipated deck, Vilegar, will take advantage of Machamp's psychic weakness as soon as possible, giving it a very hard time. This deck also struggles immensely with the Gyarados matchup, so having a great matchup against only one of the top 3 contenders isn't that great. Machamp Prime could cater for this deck's late game weakness, but the weakness against those 2 matchups in general will hinder this deck's playability this year. Speaking of Machamp, a fairly new deck to the scene could be expected this year, albeit in small numbers. Magnezone Machamp is a fairly new variation of Magnarock from the ECC, which has placed very well in the States period over here in the UK. Focusing on getting quick KOs on basics with Machamp's Stormfront, paired with the ability to hit hard with Magnezone Prime's Lost Burn, makes for a very tricky deck to take on. They will feature high HP, bulky stage 2s, which can deal a high amount of damage if needed by utilising Lost Burn in conjunction with Regirock LA to get multiple energy on the board in a single turn. This deck can be slow to set up fully, but this deck caters for that by using cards such as Judge to slow you down. The thing about them using Judge is that you only draw 4 cards, but they'll be able to top that back up to 6 with Magnezone's Magnetic Draw Poker Power, which serves as an impressive draw engine for the deck. With high amounts of disruption, early and late game presence, this deck is sure to make a fair dent in the metagame. This deck will be very sparse across tables since it's a fairly new concept, but I would expect to see it at the top tables if not anywhere else. Since it has good matchups across the board and a great SP matchup, you can bet to see this deck doing well rather than sinking low. This is definitely one to watch out and test for. Those are pretty much the main decks we can more than likely expect to be paired against on the day, but you can also expect to see people attempting rogues such as Steelix Prime, Sizel Prime and Regigigas, which can be awkward to deal with. These kind of decks can take you by surprise, since you more than likely haven't been testing against these matchups, so you will need to take a slightly different approach when playing against them. Sometimes a tricky thing to do is to play while working out what you need to do to stop the deck opposite you from setting up fully, or have a pre-planned strategy to take down their fully set up attackers. Play safe during the first few turns until you have a decent grasp of what their deck is attempting to achieve, as you may not know what needs doing straight away, like if you were playing against LuxChomp for example. By using this time to set up as smoothly as possible, by the time you've got there, you should be able to work out what needs to be done to start taking prizes. It seems like a simple thing to do, but trying to play safe and work out what needs doing is sometimes very tricky when the other player has a complex or strange strategy. The main thing is to try not to let yourself get taken by surprise. Make sure you know about pretty much all competitive cards in the format as well as what they do as well. This will mean that whatever your opponent plays, you should be ready for, to counter or adjust your strategy accordingly. This is one of the main tips I can give you for Nationals, since you never know what your opponent is bringing to the table with all the ideas people come up with. If you can deal with these decks in the first couple of rounds, you should be well on your way to a decent record. So overall, expect to be up against anything during this tournament. There will definitely be the top decks covering most of the field, but do be wary of those random little decks that could cause you a bit of trouble. Be prepared for everything, and you have a perfect mentality to go far. Thanks for watching PokeClass, and I'll see you all at Nationals on the 29th. And don't forget, if you want a lot of detail into how to play against every matchup expected, then please go and check out my latest 6 prizes article. As a last note, I'd like to congratulate a Pokemon trader, Toby Taxi, Roberts436 and Heart Gold Soul Silver Prime for making the top 4 of my Battle Tower tournament, with Heart Gold Soul Silver Prime being the victor after playing Roberts436 in the final. I hope you all enjoyed the tournament, and there'll be another one after Nationals featuring the new format Heart Gold Soul Silver on. I hope this video and the article helps you at Nationals, and thanks for watching.